Hey everybody, it's Kentario. I'm back again with Christ in Comic Books. I hope you guys are ready, because this time we're continuing with our Death Note series and seeing what it is that it's revealing from the story's content. But most of all, we want to see where does God fall in line when it comes to a story like this. And if you recall what I was talking about, there was something known as the Shinigami, which is otherwise known as a Soul Reaper. And what he did was he dropped his special gifted notebook down into the human world. And what happened in following that was that a human picked it up and started actually using it. The powers behind that particular book is that if you put someone's name in that book, they will die they will die. Now, there are rules behind the book as to how you can write down how someone dies, how long it would take for someone to die, what would happen if you were to give up the book, all of these other aspects. There's rules to this book. But in today's video, we're actually going to be talking about, the actual Volume 1. We're going to go in a little bit into Volume 1, what's going to happen, what's taking place with Volume 1, okay? So, the story actually starts out with the Shinigami in his realm, where there's other ones that are similar to him. Now, they all don't look the same. Some of them have kind of like the old school Dracula-esque kind of look. Some are kind of scaly and have a lot of bone structure to them, just the bones. Some will look kind of like shriveled up bodies kind of look with dark clothing. Some have kind of like an Indian look. Others kind of have looks from different cultures, which I actually find to be kind of interesting. I guess that's to play into, the other religions that across the world. So if someone actually someone else ends up witnessing the Shinigami, then they kind of play into their gods, their idol worship and things of those nature. So I think that might actually be a piece that plays into that. But it's not a major piece as far as the story goes. At least that's my opinion on that right now. So in continuing, the main one that we're looking at, his name is Ryuk. He looks very Dracula-esque, just kind of pointing that out there. But his name is Ryuk. He is extremely bored. In his realm, all they do is sit there, gamble, and do nothing. There's nothing that's happening in this world. So it's very, very boring. And Ryuk is bored of existing in his realm, sitting there in his realm. So he decides that he's going to go into the human world. Now, one thing, I just want to bring this up as a light note. As he's sitting there in his realm getting ready to leave, he talks to a couple of the other ones that are sitting there gambling over like little bones and things. And they ask him, he's like, which world are you going to, basically? And that kind of made me think, oh snap, so there's multiple universes that we're dealing with here, multiple realms we can go? Okay, that's kind of interesting. But instead, Ryuk's response is the human world. And as he's leaving, they're like, human world? Like, they're kind of shocked. They're shocked that he's going to the human world. And even more so, as he reveals to them, I dropped my notebook. They're even more shocked that that's where he drops his notebook, was in the human world. So he's going there to, I guess you could say, to relieve himself of his boredom, to find something to do, to cause things to actually happen. And so, as we follow with this story, what ends up happening is the notebook is picked up by a young man by the name of Light Yagami. So Light Yagami picks up this book. Some people say Light Yagami, other people say Light Yagami. It depends on how you want to pronounce it. I say Yagami, so we'll see how that plays out. But anyway, so he picks up the notebook, he takes it home, he reads through it, just kind of shocked. Oh, this is what this book is? Okay, whatever. And so he starts to read it, he starts to wonder, is it possible? He starts to test it. And he discovers, after writing the name of a criminal into the book to test that out, that, oh snap, this book actually works. So he was shocked to find out that the book actually works. Now, to give some background to Light. Light is the school genius. He's the top athlete. He's the top scholar. He knows everything that he needs to know in school. The thing about that is there's two sides to this character that I think is important to kind of talk about here as we go into Light Yagami. He is bored. He's bored from 2 points. He's bored because no one's challenging him, no one's succeeding against him. There's no challenge there in the area of his education. But most of all, as far as with the storyline, there is so much mess in the world. There's no one else trying to do better, trying to be better, trying to develop themselves. And it's much deeper than that. People are being grotesque, people are being perverted, there's people being violent, there's people taking people's lives, taking people's money, and all of the deception across the world. And that's just kind of his view of the world, is that the world itself is a mess. So with this book falling into this young man's possession, that is what's sparking the entire flow of this story. Because what happens is, Ryuk stumbles upon him. Now, he is shocked at first at seeing Ryuk. But in that same moment, he is like, okay, I was expecting this. So with the way that the story was written out, it's as if, why is he so calm? But you kind of get that explanation because they do a flashback as to some of the other things that took place upon him picking up the book, upon him taking someone's life. He's went a couple of steps farther behind that. So Ryuk picks up the book. They done had a little discussion to really get to know each other a little bit. And Ryuk picks up the book and talks around the book and some of the rulings. They both are speaking at a level where they both have a level of comprehension. Ryuk is clarifying some details that Light wants to know about. However, on the same token, Light is expressing how well thought out he went about what it is we're about to reveal that he did. So as Ryuk opens the Death Note, he notices that he's done went through several names. I believe he said about 40 people he's done killed, whose names he's put in the book since he's got it, and it's only been 5 days since he had the book, and he's already killed 40 people. So that is one of the things that's really kind of shocking as you're reading it in the moment. But like I said, it's the flashback that kind of clears everything up for you. So in the flashback, he tested it. He looked up a criminal utilizing the internet, finding their face, because one of the rules of the book is it's not just about writing someone's name. You have to have their face as well in your head as you write them, or it won't work. So as he finds a very deadly evil person, he writes their name in the book, and they end up dying. And he utilized where the situation was someone was holding people hostage, holding young children hostage, and he was a very grave threat. He was about to start killing off people. He tested, the person died, the kids got away. He was thinking in that moment, okay, maybe this is coincidence. So next day comes about, he's kind of walking around town, seeing things, and he sees a young lady about to be, I guess you could say, assaulted. Some guys on bikes tried to, talk her up, tried to take her, and he wrote in the book that the dude would die from being hit by a vehicle. That's another aspect to it. You can be specific about their death. Otherwise, they will simply die of a heart attack. So what happened in this moment was this person died by getting hit by a vehicle. And in that moment, Light knew that the book worked. So at that point, he had to decipher through what he was going to do. He's like, oh my goodness, I've done killed 2 people. He had to come to the conclusion that I have taken someone's life. He dealt with that. You could see him struggling within himself. He's like, this isn't easy for someone to just do. I can't just take this on and really go and do these types of things. So I'm going to pause there for just a moment, because what's so powerful about him sitting there thinking that through is he's thinking about the responsibility of having that book. He's contemplating, should I be throwing this book away, getting rid of it, and putting it into someone else's hands, destroying it, because that's too much power for one person to have. That's too much of a responsibility to take on to be able to even just simply use this book. But on the other hand, he's thinking, if I do take on this responsibility of keeping this book, what am I going to do with this book? So he came to the conclusion that I'm going to rid the world of its mess. That's what I can be doing. I have all of this power in my hands in this one notebook, and none the wiser. No one's going to figure out it's me, especially as you see him using his mind to think through how he can put this plan into effect. So it's very interesting how this is actually playing out.